Howdy chaps and chapettes, welcome back to another episode. I don't know what this one's going to have in it. It's going to have a bit of EJ, it's going to have a bit of tank. It is also Christmas Eve, and I thought I'd put a video out because, well, there's been progress on everything, but all the stuff I was doing has taken so much time that I haven't had the ability to film it. And if you're wondering why I sound sniffly, it is not COVID. I have spent the last 2 days in tractors on a farm helping out a mate. So, hey fever! As I say, what do gay cows eat? Hi! Yeah, so the other day I picked up some fiberglass EJ guards, as you can see it just there in the photo, from a lovely couple who are also EJ fanatics. They know who they are. So I'll show you them. I was tweaking one of them at the moment. I thought, oh, this would probably be a good idea to film things, so I think I'll just shut up and show you what I've been up to. Alrighty, so you got the gist of that. It actually runs now. I don't think it runs dead smooth like I remember grey motors running, so whether or not it needs some fine tuning, like the valves need to be readjusted or things like that. I remember grey motors being smoother than that, so I think once I've got it all together I'll probably tweak it a bit, because I'm just not happy with how it's shimmering, but it seems to be okay. But I mean, considering it's done a whole lot of nothing for a very long time, because the video where I did Will It Run was the first time it run in like 15 years, and then I pulled the car apart and then the motor's been out of the car not running for another year, and it's back in, and this is probably the longest it's ever run for like 15 years. So we could have a bunch of niggling issues that I don't know about. Also, here's a bonus, it doesn't blow any smoke, so there's a utter win and a half. So yeah, there's that. I've got this fiberglass guard on. I'm having some issues with it because it fits the front perfectly. However, when you get to here, it doesn't want to fit against the sill panel very well, and it's hard up against here. So that piece in there is alright, but I wonder whether or not the manufacturer potentially got that piece wrong, because I had to actually put this bottom bolt in first before anything else and sort of twist the guard to sort of fit, and I haven't got the other one in yet either because I haven't drilled the hole. But that is an interesting conundrum, so I'll have to cross that bridge later. Luckily I know a guy. Aside from in there though, oops, fits quite nicely. I do think the guard might be a bit thick where all the mounting points are. Like, you think about an original steel guard, they're only about 0.8 or a millimetre at best, whereas this is heading towards 3. It's about 3 times as thick as it should be. So I'm thinking I might take it off and then sand the snot out of the underside of that mounting point to thin it out so the guard sits down a bit further, because I think it's sitting too high here. Stupidly, and this is something I don't understand about these guards, this panel here has a raise in it, just kicks up, but the guard is totally flat through there, and that's how they were. So this was flat, that kicked up, but they never joined each other. So I've never liked the way those panels line up to each other through there. Whether or not I'll be a cheeky bugger and lower this down to line up and then shave the two of them together so they actually match up, so that curve goes into the guard slightly. I don't know, that would be my personal preference. So yeah, there's that. Oh, I don't know if I showed putting the gauges in and stuff. So the dash is pretty much all back together. Putting the ignition indicator stalk and stuff in was fun. You might have a bit of trouble overhearing the fan, but it is a bit warm. So as far as tank goes, I've spent some money. I am now poor, but we have everything to put the top on the tank, and I mean the turret as well, and the other side. So I got that stuff, got 2 giant plates of 10mm plate, which were the outside, and then cut everything. I bought myself a plasma cutter. It was $570 odd from BAC. Claims it can cut 12mm clean. Don't know about that. It can cut 10mm cleanly. No. It can cut it, and that's what I used to cut the circles, and then I used a flapper disc to neaten it up. So if you were to buy a plasma cutter, first off, buy one that's got a standoff on the actual head so it can rest, so you don't put the actual cutting torch on the panel. Buy one that's more than 30 amps. I only bought it because I was poor. I would recommend at least a 60 if you're going to cut anything thick. If you want to cut 10mm plate, buy a 60, twice what that is. Yeah, but I mean, panel steel, that would be absolutely perfect for a car. And I mean, it blitzes through 5mm. No, it cuts through 3mm like that. It can cut 10 and thicker, but God, it has a hard time doing it. So, and that machine is spectacularly light. Like, I could throw that in the workshop. That whole shoot match weighs 7 kilos. Plug your air in, put your earth lead on it, put it into 10 amp power, off you go. Pretty good, really. So what I'm going to do is catch up in a second when I take that back off and thin it out. So we're going to do a bit of EJ stuff, because the 2 fiberglass guards are actually from 2 different points in time in manufacturing. So this is one of the later ones before they stopped doing them, and that's a really, really early one when they started doing them. Because once upon a time you could go to Rare Spares and buy fiberglass guards. You can't do it anymore. So because I remember about 15 years ago I did actually buy a pair that looked just like that, and they were generously donated by some loyal viewers, and I am immensely grateful. And boy, they look good on that car. Look how good that car looks, even with the guard and the nose on. It's beautiful. I'm not crying, you're crying. Anyway, I'm going to take that back off and I'm going to have a play with it. So I'll see you in a minute. Alrighty, there we go. Now it's fitting. I thinned out the top point significantly. It won't go too thin, because if it goes too thin, well, then it becomes completely weak. I've got the side fitting better. I'm not happy with it, but it's actually sitting in. But that means there's a huge twist in that panel. Sort of wonder whether or not the person who made this umpteen years ago, the original mould was quite right. But it'll do. It's sitting down nicer through here. I thinned out that a lot. There's a bracket in there, I thinned that out. Doesn't look too bad now, all in all. So this next one will be interesting, because it fits the front nice. Now this is a really, really old guard. Probably one of the early fiberglass ones. That's got some issues there. I've got to drill out these holes. Got to find them first. The front one's a bit hard to see. Yeah, and then see how that one's going to fit. They're a completely different shape in the guts there, so we'll have to play that one by ear. As far as the moulding goes, I actually reckon it's a bit nicer than the other one, especially in the wheel arch. I have been doing other things as well. I finished drilling out the holes for this plate, which is the other side of the tank. Yeah, that takes some doing. The poor mag drill didn't like that. I was like, I just don't want to do it anymore. It actually looks like a piece of the Titanic, really, with all the holes in it. And I guess on par it could be pretty similar, because the Titanic's hull was made of 1-inch plate, which is that. Iceberg proof, but the rivets are not. Anyway, I'm going to keep trotting along. Later on in this video we're going to put that on, by the way. Well, this is a bit of a bummer. So we got the other guard fitting okay, but this one does not want to play the game. Drilled the holes where it has them. It sits nice atop the top. It's a little below at the back, but my word, it does not want to play the game. I'm like, and my car is not bent, by the way. I know that because I've had multiple sets of rusty guards on here and they all fit perfectly. So I'm wondering, because this guard is so old, whether or not it was rejected at day one and nobody picked up on it, and then no one's ever thrown it out because it's an EJEH guard, fiberglass. But I mean, you could push that in there with a fair bit of force, but that's just asking for trouble. You'll drive down the road, you hear a massive crack and your guard will fall off probably. Yeah, so you can have it going the other way, but the bolts never line up, so yeah. And then of course you get over here, we're miles too low here, and you could park a bus through that gap. Even though, funnily enough, parallel wise, the sill panel is actually better than the other guard, but there's no way on the face of this planet that is going to line up with that. So poo. But you know, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Meatloaf would be pretty stoked with that odds. That's 50%. Or is it 2 out of 3? I don't know. Weird fella. But that one's alright, that one's usable. Just got to tweak the other end of that, but yeah, that's plenty usable. That's definitely what the rare spares were selling about 10 years ago, when you could get fiberglass guards. I never ever saw these ones. So I do wonder whether or not that came out of the mould wrong, which it does happen, and I have seen it happen. There was years ago I fitted attempted to fit a VS Commodore, and this is talking a few years ago, put a fiberglass body kit on it, and it looked fine, put it on the car, and it just would never tuck around enough to fit the car. And they were like, yeah, just push it on, and then you hear the enormous snap, and then they're like, well, doesn't fit now because it broke in half. So fiberglass needs to pretty much fit perfectly, or there's no point putting it on. So I wonder whether or not it didn't tuck around far enough. It looks like it's been made in a couple of pieces, but something's a bit funny about that, and not the ha-ha kind of funny. So yeah, I can't use that one, unfortunately. Bit of a poor, because I wanted to, because it was a bit nicer in the style lines than the other one. But who knows how old that is and where it's been or what's happened to it, because could have had a lot of heat on it, could have warped in the summers. It does get hot here in the old Australia. Oh well, win some, lose some. Still thankful that I was given them, but I don't know if I can use that one. I'll definitely use this one. It's actually a bit, as far as the smoothness goes, it's got a better gel coat than this one actually. This one's a little bit ripply. Yeah, very ripply actually through there. I think this one's had a hard life, I think. But oh well, keep on trucking. That one's quite good actually, yeah, we'll definitely use that one. Still looks good with its face back on, eh? I might actually walk the bonnet from over there over to here and just sit it on so I can at least pretend my car looks complete. So I'll see you in a second. Alrighty, we've just welded some 8mm bar on there, I think. Done a loop, welded it, smacked it to bend it down, because I worked out last time I did the other side, with it out that way, it actually pushes the plate in a bit further, gets a bit more ease of movement. So, holes are drilled, plates cleaned up, descaled, deburred, ready to go. Time to get the crane onto here and lift up this 134 kilo piece of steel, which cost $500. Not too shabby. And this is the side of the tank. So we'll pick it up and gingerly take it down there and try and fit it down that hole over there. So I will see you in a second if I've successfully done it. Having one of those breathe in moments. There is quite literally about 1.5 inches in it, and that's it. The tank is so dangerously close to being too close this way, but the crane does fit, and it's got a little bit of wiggle room, and you can see it's naturally leaning in the touching position. So I'm going to use all my focus in a minute, lift it up and clamp it on, drill some holes and bolt it on. Alrighty, and that is this side on. The tank has all sides now. I will admit I wanted to film some of this, but this side did not want to play the game. I think this sponson here, this is the sponson. A sponson is what hangs over the track, if you want to know. The front of the sponson at the top was ever so slightly leaning forward. I mean, leaning backwards. The top, bottom was fine, so that was great. But the top was tilted back, but I couldn't move that for love nor money. So what I did was I put this one in first, and I sacrificed this one. This one was leaning that way a bit too. So this one was leaning forward. I just had to sneeze then, so I paused the video. So this one was leaning forward, that one was leaning back, so it made it very difficult. So I put this one in, this one, and it basically had this whole plate leaning down by about, I don't know, 10mm. So then I used the crane here, and with these ones in, lifted the plate, which pushed this plate back to the point where the bottom hole was lined up. So I put that one in, drilled the next one, put that one in, and as I went up, the plate basically went in, and this one went that way. Hence how I got my gap. But yeah, I had to use a fair bit of thinking power then, because my porta power died. Otherwise I would have just put that in there and pushed it and it would have been done. So basically the bolts are what shifted that way a little. There's my little hook that I had on. I'm going to cut that off in a second. Deburr these are ledges here. And that'll probably do it for this video. It's not going to be a great video, but you know, that's what you get on big jobs. I've also worked out that with a lot of studying that the rivets are not actually all evenly spaced. So these ones from here to here they're all 4 inches apart. Actually to here, sorry. But when you get here, the last 5 are actually, well technically, yeah, the last 5 are actually 4.5 inches apart. Don't ask me why they did that. They just like to change things up a bit. But that's how they are. Useless trivia you probably will never need. So yeah, I will give you a hint that over the next week, hopefully, my buddy from Victoria is coming down and we are going to be putting that atop here. Hence why I spent a chunk of time recently making the roof, buying the plates, making the roof, getting this piece, drilling all the holes, getting it ready, getting everything, the angle iron, all the stuff, and spending every cent I had and getting it all ready so that when he comes down we can shift a few things. He's going to bring some sort of lifting equipment, otherwise he better be really strong. And we're going to lift the turret out, the turret ring out, we're going to put the roof on the tank, put the turret ring on, then put the turret on the tank. So I might film that, and then I think at the end of it we'll give the whole tank a fresh paint job, because obviously we've got a black guard there, I needed to clean that up, black side there, there's some bits and pieces, so will give the whole outside of the thing a bit of a tickle once the roof and the turret sitting atop it. So that'll be a good video. Yeah, not too bad really. Might leave it there, chaps. Bit bummed about the EJ fiberglass guard, but considering they were a gift, you can't really complain. So, you know, that's just luck of the draw really. But it does look good. So yeah, I'll just leave it there, and I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, which is tomorrow from now, and the next video you'll see will be the turret going on, so look out for that one. Don't know when it will be, but I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you around, chaps.